Something strange is happening in Atlanta's housing market right now, and I don't think most people are reading it right. Homes are taking longer to sell, but that doesn't tell the whole story, because if you zoom in by neighborhood, you realize not everything is acting the same way. Today, I'm walking you through what the data really says about Atlanta in 2026 and what it means for buyers and sellers. Once you see how all of these pieces fit together, the picture makes a lot more sense. Two major data sources are looking at Atlanta right now, and the numbers are coming in tens of thousands of dollars apart. I think that gap's worth understanding before you look at anything else. Redfin shows Atlanta's median sales price in the high 370s as of late 2025. Realtor.com shows the median listing price closer to the mid 350s, slightly down year over year. Before anything else, I need to be clear about it. They're not measuring the same thing. One reflects what homes are actually closing at, other reflects what sellers are asking when they list. The difference between those numbers shows something clearly. Seller expectations and buyer behavior aren't aligned right now. But both sources do agree on one thing: price growth has slowed. The pace we saw in 2021 and 2022 isn't happening anymore. I would say things are getting back to normal. What we saw in the peak years was a result of an atypical situation created by the pandemic. Atlanta is a large metro area, and obviously this market doesn't behave in just one way. Midtown condos are trading in the low to mid 400s. Old Fourth Ward, Inman Park, and Virginia Highland, all along or near the Beltline, are behaving differently from each other. Virginia Highland ranges from the low 500s into the millions, depending on the property and property type. Inman Park is generally in the high 700s to over $1 million. Decatur, which is its own city, also inside the perimeter, and functions independently in many ways, is holding around the mid 500s. Outside the perimeter markets like Johns Creek are closer to the high 600s. You see how wide that range is. If you rely only on the metro number, you miss the real picture. Keep that contrast in mind as we move into sales activity. It changes how you think about which parts of Atlanta are moving and which are sitting. Now for buyers, there's negotiation room that simply didn't exist a few years ago. Sellers pricing off of peak comps are starting to feel resistance. The adjustment now is aligning with today's market, not the one from 3 years back. And inventory plays directly into that. But before we get into that, if you're trying to figure out where big opportunities are in the in-town market, reach out. I can give you a direct read on what makes sense for your situation. My contact info is in the description below. Now, let's get into inventory. For the last few years, the defining feature of Atlanta's market was simple. There wasn't enough to buy, especially inside the perimeter. You were chasing a limited number of homes with a lot of other buyers doing the same thing. That shifted, and I think the shift is bigger than most people realize. Across Metro Atlanta, active listings are up by roughly 20 to 25% year over year. Months of supply is sitting in the low to mid 4-month range. That actually puts us in a balanced market. It's not the extreme seller's market we saw in 2021 and 2022, but it's not a buyer's market either. It's the middle. And in this kind of market, the outcome depends heavily on execution. Inside the city, Realtor.com shows a little over 6,200 homes for sale right now. That's more selection than buyers have had in years. The pressure that pushed people to waive contingencies or stack escalation clauses has eased. More homes mean more time. More time means buyers can compare carefully and make decisions without rushing. The part sellers need to understand is the psychological shift. When supply was tight, buyers reacted quickly. Now they're deliberate. They're looking at your home and comparing it to 8 others within a mile, and they have the space to think through that comparison. Stay with me. There's a reason prices are holding even with higher inventory, and it ties directly to the employment base supporting demand in Atlanta. Now, for buyers, more inventory is straightforwardly good. Instead of scrambling to outbid everyone, you can focus on choosing the option that actually fits your life. That's a much healthier position to be in. For sellers, the path is clear. Price correctly, present well from day one. In a roughly 4 to 5 month supply market, waiting for the market to come to you is not a strategy. And when pricing misses the mark, the days on market data reflect it quickly. Inventory tells you buyers have more options. Days on market tells you how they're using that time. Realtor.com shows Atlanta's median days on market at about 65 days. That's up from last year. Federal Reserve data for the broader Atlanta, Sandy Springs, Roswell metro area came in at a similar range, with median days on market now roughly 2 months or more. Either way, homes are sitting 2 months or more before going under contract. That's very different from the stretch when well-priced inside the perimeter homes were gone in a week. Demand hasn't disappeared. Buyers are still active. What's different is the pace. People are taking their time now. Inspection periods are longer. The full cost gets analyzed, including mortgage, taxes, condition, and what the home might need in the first couple of years. If something feels uncertain, they just move on. There's usually another option right around the corner. When you look at this together with other signals, you start to see why 2026 doesn't feel like the last few years. For buyers, that extra time has real value. You have space to think for a week, negotiate terms, and ask for credits. That's normal right now. A few years ago, you had less than 24 hours to decide or the home was gone. For sellers, once a listing crosses 60 or 70 days, buyers start asking questions. The longer it sits, the more doubt builds. People wonder what others saw and chose to pass on. Pricing, staging, and presentation are critical in this environment. That's what separates a clean closing from a listing that keeps adding days. And that connects directly to what's happening with overall sales activity. Seeing that homes are sitting longer gives you context. What actually helps you make a decision is knowing which homes in which neighborhoods and why. Across Atlanta, closed sales in 2025 averaged just over 750 transactions per month in the city itself, based on about 9,000 annual closed sales in the latest housing report. Roughly 1 in 10 of those closings involved new construction. Volume hasn't fallen apart. The pace just isn't what it was during the boom years, and what's selling is changing. New construction is a big part of that shift. Builders are offering incentives that resale sellers usually can't. Rate buydowns, closing cost credits, upgrades included in the base price. When a buyer can get a brand new home at a competitive, effective cost, that creates pressure on resale listings, especially those that need updates. Demand also isn't evenly distributed. Beltline-adjacent ITP neighborhoods are a good example. The infrastructure is established and buyers understand the lifestyle they're stepping into. Old Fourth Ward, Inman Park, and Virginia Highland are still moving at a steady pace. In other areas where long-term value feels less clear or homes require work, listings are taking longer and often adjusting the price. For buyers, slower pockets don't automatically signal a bad opportunity. In many cases, it reflects sellers who haven't fully adjusted to current condition. Less competition creates space to think, negotiate, and move with intention. That's where prepared buyers are gaining ground right now. For sellers in softer areas, differentiation becomes critical. Homes that are well presented and priced correctly are closing. Others are accumulating days. And once you see which neighborhoods are absorbing this shift more smoothly, it becomes clearer why Atlanta's 2026 market feels different from the last few years. Here's the part people struggle to reconcile, and it's central to understanding where this market actually stands. Inventory is up roughly 20 to 25%. Homes are taking 65 to 70 days to go under contract. Price growth has flattened, and in some data sets, you see mild softness. In many markets, that combination leads to visible price drops. Atlanta hasn't followed that pattern. Prices have largely held, and the reason isn't mysterious. It comes back to the employment base. Midtown alone has more than 15 million square feet of Class A office space and over 65,000 jobs within 1.2 square miles. Perimeter Center, which usually gets underestimated, carries roughly 29 million square feet of office space and is home to a high concentration of major employers and corporate headquarters, making it one of the largest office markets in the Southeast. Downtown and Midtown combined approach 50 million square feet of office space. Atlanta's tech sector accounts for about 6.5% of metro employment, which is above both state and national averages. That density of high-wage employment in and around the ITP corridor absorbs supply. When that many people work in Midtown or Perimeter and live nearby, demand for well-located housing doesn't disappear just because inventory rises. It adjusts. Buyers become more selective, activity slows, but demand doesn't disappear. The Beltline effect reinforces that. Homes near the trail have consistently traded at premiums compared to the broader ITP market. As more segments come online and the surrounding corridors fill in with retail and residential, that pricing strength becomes more structural. Buyers who understand Atlanta don't treat every ITP location the same. What this means in 2026 depends on your position. For buyers, this is the most negotiating leverage the ITP market has offered in several years. There's more inventory, more time, and sellers who are increasingly open to working with serious offers. If rates remain in a moderate range, that leverage likely continues. Areas tied closely to employment density, Midtown, Old Fourth Ward, Inman Park, and neighborhoods near Perimeter Center will continue to attract stronger long-term demand. That's where location and job access intersect. For sellers, this requires clarity. Inventory is higher than it was a year ago. Buyers are careful and informed. Homes that are priced correctly and presented well are still closing. Listings anchored to peak comps or properties that need updates buyers aren't willing to take on are accumulating days. The broader market is holding, but it's separating stronger listings from the weaker ones. Atlanta is recalibrating, and the reason it's recalibrating instead of falling apart sits in the employment data. Understanding that difference changes how you move in 2026. Atlanta's 2026 market is rewarding clarity. The people who are doing well right now are the ones who understand which neighborhoods have real structural demand behind them and which ones are relying on overall market momentum. That distinction is everything this year. If you want a direct read on what current conditions mean for your situation in the in-town Atlanta market, whether you're buying or selling or trying to time a move, reach out at hello@vcgrealty.com today. In this kind of market, one well-timed conversation can change your outcome completely. And if you're focused on downtown specifically, take a look at my breakdown of Centennial Yards. The ripple effect into the surrounding neighborhoods is real. If you're considering ITP, you need to understand what's happening there before you make a move.